With the arrival of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, so has the confirmation of the affection mechanic in the permanent XP share, specifically Team XP share. As a result, the topic of difficulty has been ever more present, and it's somewhat of a complex issue in regards to how the community perceives what constitutes as a challenge. Pokemon has and will be a game targeted towards children, but does this constitute a game without struggle? And what factors properly determine the best way to create a healthy yet challenging environment? The answer is actually pretty simple, and I have 3 solutions to this problem. And no, it's not. The defining agreement for most Pokemon fans seemingly is, why not just make levels higher? Why not simply restrict the trainer from access to XP? I mean, it's an understandable assumption since logic dictates higher level opponents have greater stats, but I actually think this is the wrong way to look at this argument. Experience has never been a specific determinant of the individual skill of a trainer. It just entices the player to grind more until they get to a level in which brute forcing through an enemy is the easiest way with a super effective move. For further evidence, let's take a look at Pokemon Colosseum, an older Pokemon game which has this problem. Steep level jumps manifesting from the game's continuous onslaught of non-stop battles in a way that incentivizes time consumption, either through tedious menial tasks such as the purification feature or inconsistencies in level scaling. While I personally don't believe it's the worst Pokemon game, sorry Tama, still love your vids, she makes a really valid point in stating, limited resources are only a test of skill if you have the means to manage them, and your success or failure comes down to the choices you can make. If you can't play your way out of steep level jumps by strategizing or coming up with team combos or movesets that will help you in a specific way for 90% of the game, and the only way around it is wasting hours at mountain battle over and over, then I'd argue that it's actually anti-strategy. She makes a great point here in highlighting how simplifying difficulty to leveling does not accurately create a proper means for coherent and healthy difficulty. Sure, it is difficult to beat a trainer 15 levels higher than you, but why would I enjoy spending an hour or 2 grinding before every gym when it would be more fun to strategize a way to counter their team's complexity in a way that isn't just wasting time to click the super effective move. Grinding in large portions constantly is just simply boring, and often the main factor as to why many RPGs and gacha games seem to fail, because they can never escape the boring category and grinding category. And as a children's game, do you think little Timmy would want to spend 2 hours trying to beat a level 50 Gym 5 when he could spend that time asking his mother for V-Bucks to one-pump Naruto as Ariana Grande Fortnite? Like, bro. Needless to say, grinding isn't any more fun than scripting YouTube content. I'm trying, guys, I promise. That being said, I'm not opposed to minor level increases if it functions appropriately. Black and White 2 actually does this pretty well, although its implementation could be better. Why the fuck do I need to beat the game to get hard mode? Why do you only get easy mode in White? Anyways, I just think it's the least best way to create natural difficulty. I also encourage the concept of toggling more features in Pokemon, such as the XP share. I doubt it'll disappear since it actually fits really well in the open world gameplay setting, but it would be nice if Game Freak were to have to toggle features, since it only serves to enhance the game. Same for affection. More settings is never a worse decision. But you know what would make for a better decision? By far the best way to properly implement difficulty is simply by making AI for every respective trainer harder. Every Pokemon game has an AI scaling, with the beginning of each game having a respective trainer class of which the AI is trying to throw, by often selecting moves at random. It's not until later in the game where the AI changes often with the trainer class to always go for the kill, inflict status, or perform switches in the event of not having a super effective move. Funnily enough, I feel as though Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon incorporated an interesting concept, where if you beat every trainer in their respective route, you'd unlock the ability to challenge an ace trainer battle, where the class's respective AI is on the higher end, often equivalent to gym leader. So in terms of creating a healthier challenge for the game, a higher AI from the start of the game serves to be a greater challenge. Imagine if every random route trainer had the respective AI of a gym leader, always went for short kills or super effective moves, or used status moves to cripple the team in longer battles. Now also imagine if gym leaders and respective bosses and rivals had the Elite 4 champion level AI from the start of the game. AI is single-handedly the most impactful long-term form of creating healthy difficulty, and pairs really well with Any Pokemon fan knows when they play a Pokemon game, they desire to create some sort of fun, strong, or simply cool team they can take to the top and prove that they're the very best that ever was. Team building is such an integral part of this journey. People sometimes choose types that synergize well and don't overlap, or will try to have type coverage to deal with checks and counters. It's fun to create organic ways to defeat strong opponents. However, this same attitude isn't always reflected in the NPC's individual teams. In fact, the formula often prevents it, with most gyms only harboring Pokemon of the exact same type, and movesets consisting of level up moves with the occasional TM. It's often only endgame bosses, such as evil teams or rivals, or even the Elite Four, where the sentiment is somewhat carried out. And even then, it isn't always properly done. Pokemon XY is one of the weirdest Pokemon games, where it feels like the game is always attempting to do the exact opposite of creating difficulty. It feels like the game never fully tries to let go of your hand. It's a great game, but can't go a gym without trying to give you something that makes the game easier. You beat the first gym, XP share, Kanto starter. Beat the second gym, Fossil. Beat the third gym, Mega Lucario. And this is even shown specifically with the fact that some bosses don't even have full movesets. It's a testament to an attempt to create an easier game where it circumvents team building with limitations. An ideal example of good team building ironically comes from one of the most mediocre games in the series. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, despite not accounting for the game balance changes over the prior 4 generations, has a surprising jump in difficulty for its Pokemon League in a way that I think is kind of pretty funny. The Elite Four incorporates diverse movesets to counter opposing weaknesses. It properly handles items, and for the first time in the series actually utilizes hidden abilities. In BDSP, we actually see a pretty respectable amount of team building. They actually incorporate different sets for every individual Pokemon. You have status moves for setup, you have combo sets that can go into other Pokemon to help give them an alley-oop. You have coverage against common counters, and most importantly, the pairing with their abilities. Something that has always been seen as like an afterthought for team building for Pokemon NPCs. Sheer force with moves tailored to pair with each other, and the boost from Life Orb without the received damage, that's an actual competitively viable set. And they even have it down to the nature. This should be the norm for difficulty in endgame Pokemon, as it portrays a means of competitive influence that can initiate new trainers while also facilitating a challenge for veterans who desire something a little spicier. However, there is one more aspect from BDSP's Elite Four and Champion battles that elevates their difficulty even more, and that is IVs, or individual values, is the inherent value Pokemon has from birth, and often was the catalyst to many jokes about Pokemon trainers being eugenicists. Its function is to allow certain Pokemon to slightly increase their stats in ways that can be beneficial. EVs, or effort values, are pretty similar in concept, but are a lot simpler in the fact that every Pokemon can gain EVs every time you defeat something. There is an intrinsic value added to that Pokemon that increases one of its stats. These are called effort points. These, in the simplest term, allow you to increase the utility in a Pokemon by allowing you to spec specific points into the respective stats that will help benefit your individual team. Most boss Pokemon from the Elite Four champion teams often have maxed IVs to create a sense of difficulty, and ever since the 7th gen, Game Freak has made an attempt to make their bosses stronger by fully EVing multiple mons in the manners that benefit their respective teams. Going back to BDSP, the Elite Four and Cynthia all have maxed out EV stats and nearly perfect IVs in most stat. By creating a team which not only utilizes their full potential but enhances their strengths, it cultivates a natural and dynamic means of challenge, as the player should also reasonably have fully EV Pokemon by this point. That being said, the implementation of EVs and IVs, while its implementation has gone better with every game, to properly raise a Pokemon game's difficulty, I feel it shouldn't be exclusive to the endgame. And I actually think it could offer an interesting perspective if ace trainers and gym leaders also had higher IV than EV teams, in a reasonable form of escalation. That way it can mirror the individual player's growth. So how was that? Do you agree with what I said? Have other ideas? If you do, feel free to comment down below. I'd love to see it. Also, if you could, like, comment, and subscribe. I'll try to get videos out at a consistent pace, but thank you for watching, and have yourself a damn good one. I'll be streaming Pokemon Scarlet and Violet hopefully this entire weekend, so feel free to join my stream. I'll have it down in the description below.